The news that people on the Bibby Stockholm are being packed six to a cabin is shocking, and and the fact, therefore, they're only costing £120 per person per night is even more shocking when you consider that it costs £140 per person per night in the hotels, and the hotels are not really much better. I've stayed in some of these hotels; they're pretty squalid, even when they're set up for paying guests. When they're set up for migrants or people seeking asylum, they're even worse. And actually, some of these hotels operate a sort of bifurcate system where half the hotel is open to paying guests and the other half of the hotel is occupied by migrants. And the quality of service is pretty sloppy. Uh, you know, it's the Home Affairs Select Committee, Dame Diana Johnson, has written to Michael Tomlinson, who's in charge of, quote, illegal, unquote, migration, and has said that we're concerned about housing asylum claimants on the Bibby Stockholm that is leaving them in a claustrophobic environment, isolated from external support, without important links to community, faith, or family, potentially for months on end. And of course, there has been at least one suicide. I think something needs to be done about this. One thing that could be done would be for the Home Office to actually get off its backside and start doing some work. There used to be an office that you could go to in Petty France, and you could go through your own birth certificates and death certificates and so on, and you could find certificates. Now you have to do it all online, so you have to know significantly more details than just vague memories. And it's much more complicated, but equally, it involves so many more Home Office staff to actually do the work that could easily have been done by the public coming in off the street. And this is the part of the part of the Home Office that I think people simply haven't recognised, that the Home Office has become addicted to control and to intimidation, not only of people who are coming to the UK from other countries, but also people who are indigenous, people who are here naturally. And it's an oppressive, overstaffed and underworking organisation. It should be processing these applications, but it's so busy storing up its own sense of authority. It needs to look at sort of what Shelley's poem or something. Look upon me, you mighty, and despair. Well, I'm afraid the despair is for the Home Office, and this is a confection that simply doesn't work. There should be, if the government has set up a barge to house migrants, it should have religious services, it should have proper care, it should have proper activities, and it certainly shouldn't be shoving six people into a room. It's the claim by James Cleverly that we take both the physical and mental health of the people who are in the asylum estate very seriously. What utter rubbish! If that were the case, people wouldn't be killing themselves. This is the same rubbish that is spouted by people like Lucy Fraser, Nadine Dorries, and Michelle Donnellan, who tried to defend reality TV. Reality TV is also littered with the corpses of people who have killed themselves, and yet it's a money earner. So nobody wants to wobble that boat. Nobody wants to wobble the Bibby Stockholm boat either, where I'm all right, Jack, in the halls of Whitehall, in the corridors of Whitehall. No one's going to make a fuss. No one's going to make a fuss because it doesn't affect them. Well, I'm afraid in the end it does affect them, because we are setting up a growing force of people who are frustrated and who feel ill-used by our government. And it's not a good thing to do. All these people could be ambassadors for Britain, either back in their homes, or they could be working hard for Britain here. Instead, they're frustrated in the Bibby Stockholm and hotels and nonsense. For what? For following the United Nations directive in the 1951 Refugee Convention that it doesn't matter how they get to a country as long as they apply for asylum once they're there. And the Albanian boy who died, who had killed himself, had just been given a license to work in this country, and yet that information didn't get to the Bibby Stockholm. It was withheld for 5 days. In those 5 days he killed himself. An act of despair, because our bureaucracy did not work, because it was so up itself and so obsessed with its self-control. I think the Home Office needs to control itself before it tries to control anybody else.